Apostle Paul writes in 2 Corinthians, Christ's love compels us, because we are convinced that one died for all, and therefore all have died. And those that live should no longer live for themselves, but for the one who died and was raised again, right? It's beautiful. It's in 2 Corinthians 5, I think 14 through 16. And the power comes from God in that. And the difference between religion and being in Christ, right? Religion is rooted in your will and your power to behave in a certain way. Morality, right? Trying to behave in a certain way in religion is on your will. But the difference of that is that in being in union with Christ, Apostle Paul writes throughout the Gospels. He wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, and 80 sometimes he writes about being united with Christ, in union with Christ. And that so the power is in him, not in your will, but his will. And that's the beauty of that, and I'd much rather rely on God's will, the creator of all things, rather than my own. And that's what the compelling force is, Christ's love. He so loved us that he died for us, right? And so now I'm not focused on my own behavior. My eyes are on him, and that changes my behavior. It's so much, it's freedom, because now all of a sudden it's not on me trying to do in order to receive. I'm receiving, and it's changing me. I'm more and more into his image day by day. So it's not about religion, it's about Christ's likeness. It's about us becoming more like him because of us being loved by him. And that's changing my identity. I'm now a child of God. It says he writes in Romans that those who are led by the Spirit of God are children of God, right? The same power, the power of the Spirit of God that raised Jesus from the dead dwells within us. It's God's power. So now all of a sudden we're walking in freedom instead of in bondage. He warns in Galatians 5, he says, it is for freedom that Christ set you free as children. So do not commit again to a yoke of slavery. His desire for us as children is to walk in freedom. But we always make it about us, so we go back into bondage. But he desires you as a child to walk in freedom and walk in love, because we've first been loved, right? And it's beautiful, but we have to come to the end of ourselves and not making it always about us, and lay down that self-life in order to experience the fullness of the life that God has for us. It is so beautiful when we come to the end of ourselves and we lay down our self-life in order to be filled with him as we are created to be. The reason why we struggle so much is we don't see our own created value. So we hear about Jesus dying on the cross, and we take that almost into a place of condemnation, that he had to die for me because I'm a dirty sinner. No, there's a value underneath it that he wants to restore. What you were created for before the fall, right? So now he restores you, and now you start living as you were supposed to live. In freedom, in peace, in joy, apart from the circumstances you're going through. Religious people can have peace when everything is going well in their life, but what happens when they go through struggle? Do they have that same peace? The fruit of the Spirit is peace. The fruit of the Spirit is joy. The fruit of the Spirit is love. Apart from circumstance. It's beautiful because it comes from God. And we are created in his image. We're supposed to be living in this place, and we settle for something less when we live in a self-centered, self-seeking place. But that's how we live before we come back to the love of the Father. So if you are struggling today and you're in a place of brokenness, come back home to the love of God and allow him to change you. Rely on his strength, not just your own. Because when I lived before, it was only on me. I was trying to behave in a certain way in order to receive something. I was searching for love and acceptance, but apart from God. But when we come back to the love of the Father, it changes us from the inside out. God bless y'all.